Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog, and I'm really undecided which team I want to make this video about, either the Atlanta Hawks or the Utah Jazz, and unfortunately both teams kind of suffer from the same shit, but I'm not gonna lie, nobody's really talking about the Atlanta Hawks loss to Miami, and I kind of wanted to talk about it because I had higher expectations, okay? Specifically from Trae Young. Now, I will say this, in my prediction video for round one of the playoffs, I predicted that Miami would basically sweep the Atlanta Hawks, and sure enough, they basically did. Atlanta ended up winning one game, but to me, Atlanta's a team that not only should have performed better in the regular season, but a team that should have been capable of taking the Miami Heat to at least six games. That's kind of what my expectation was. Based on what their roster is. Obviously they're not playing up to what their roster's potential is, but this playoff series says a lot, and you'll find that a lot of the teams that got almost basically swept in the first round have some commonalities, and the biggest commonality is that they all suck at defense in some way, shape, or form, okay? The Atlanta Hawks, they're a fucking mess, okay? They were 26th out of 30 teams in the NBA during the regular season in defensive rating, okay? And when Nate McMillan is your head coach, okay, they were second in the league in offense and 26th in defense. Like, polar fucking opposites on opposite ends of the floor. And I watched this playoff series, and there's just so much to unpack. It's kind of insane. The first one being that Trae Young played abysmal in this playoff series against Miami. A lot of people are getting on Kevin Durant's ass for how bad he played during the Nets-Celtics series, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I could be wrong, but I would argue that Trae Young probably had a worse playoff series. Trae Young scored 15 points a game, averaged 6 turnovers a game, shot 31% from the field, 18% from three, and I think 78 or 79% from the free throw line. And when Trae Young is your star fucking player, okay, you can't have that. I mean, there are people out there who love Trae Young so much. I saw people making MVP arguments for him this year. I don't know why. He wasn't even in the conversation, but people were trying to make that conversation. But he led the league in turnovers. I mean, Trae Young is going to have to, he's a small guy, but, he's got to find some way to make up. If you can't play defense, you can't turn the ball over. And Trae Young, unfortunately, is not capable of playing defense, and he turns the ball over more than anybody in the NBA at the current point in time. Russell Westbrook is a close second, and arguably Russell Westbrook would probably be first, based on certain circumstances that happened at the end of the year, but it's just the idea, man, you need more out of Trae Young. Last year in the playoffs, Trae Young was phenomenal, okay? He played up to what we expected. This year in the playoffs, it was terrible. It was night and day, okay? So there's a couple things also here I want to talk about. DeAndre Hunter played amazing in this playoff series for the Hawks against Miami. I think he shot 55 or 56% from the field, 45 plus percent from three, 80% from the free throw line, 21 points per game. Fucking phenomenal. However, John Collins, the guy they just gave a 5-year, $125 million extension to, played all 5 games, only started 4 of them, and put up 9 and 5. Okay? And when you watch the Atlanta Hawks play, there's zero reason why John Collins, your second highest paid player on your team, should be your 5th option. I understand John Collins is kind of like a stretch big, and, I understand that, he's not exactly a bang down low type of player, but the Atlanta Hawks struggle to get points around the basket, okay? They struggle to play defense. They struggle to get shit around the basket. They have nobody that's capable of getting to the basket other than Trae Young, and when he's not turning the ball over, it's kind of like, you know. I'm really hoping that DeAndre Hunter can, you know, take what happened in the playoffs this series and translate it to next season, because DeAndre Hunter in this series looked like a completely different player. He looked like somebody that was like, wow, he might actually like live up to the draft hype, you know? It's just a matter of, is DeAndre Hunter going to carry this over into the regular season next year? Now, getting into the commonalities of all the teams that got swept in, or damn near got swept in the playoffs this year, they all suck at defense. They all don't really have a great big man. Okay, like, yeah, the Bulls have Nikola Vucevic, but he's not exactly a defensive center. The Chicago Bulls are like 28th out of 30 teams in the league in pick and roll defense, and when you get into the playoffs, pick and roll offense is pretty much all you're going to play against. So when you look at Atlanta, they suck at defense. They suck at pick and roll defense. Their Clint Capella gave them 2 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 33% shooting for this series. You can't have a bad big man, okay? Like, there's certain things that NBA teams as a whole, I think, need to figure out, or at least wake the fuck up to, and that is, you cannot be a good team in the NBA, right? You can't be a playoff team and suck at defense and not have a big man and be shitty at pick and roll defense, okay? Like, you can't be those three things, okay? Like, you can't do it, okay? And unfortunately, Utah is shitty at pick and roll defense. I mean, granted, they have Rudy Gobert, but their defense is fucking atrocious. Okay, same story with Brooklyn. Shitty big man, shitty on defense, shitty pick and roll defense. I mean, like, we can go down a list of teams that didn't do well. Atlanta, okay, like, big men are important in the playoffs. Rebounding the basketball is important in the playoffs. Playing defense, playing pick and roll defense is all important in the playoffs. And Atlanta sucks at all of them. Like, Clint Capella, when he first got to Atlanta, was like a 14 and 15 guy. Guy was going to get you 14 points and 15 boards. This past year, he's an 11 and 11 guy. And I'm starting to think Clint Capella's just, you know, gradually regressing as time goes on. Obviously, he's getting less opportunity because he's got DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Trae Young. You know, like, he's got a lot of guys to compete with for shots, but in the playoffs, man, you can't have 2 and 7.5. You just can't. Same thing with the Nets. Andre Drummond. You can't have 2 and 3 from Andre Drummond. Okay? You can't have a center where 3 and 3 is enough to outplay him. And unfortunately, teams have not realized this yet in the NBA. I know since 2016, like, a lot of teams seem to think they can just jack up fucking three-pointers, not play defense at all, say fuck it to rebounding the basketball and fuck it to playing defense and all this other stuff. But I'm going to be honest, man. Big men have always been important in the playoffs. Defense has always been important in the playoffs. Pick and roll defense has always been important in the playoffs. And unfortunately, the Atlanta Hawks do none of that. And as somebody who has had Nate McMillan as a head coach of their team before, because I'm a Pacers fan, okay, Nate McMillan's not a guy who prioritizes defense, okay? Like, he's been gone from the Pacers for, 2 years now, and they still suck at defense. I mean, like, if defense is not an emphasis or, you know, being taught, your team's going to suck at it. And I really think that's more of a head coaching thing more than it is a player effort thing or, you know, player... because, like, let's be honest, man, if a coach is on your team's ass about playing defense, I promise you those players are going to start playing fucking defense, okay? Like... It's just the idea, like, I really think it's more so a coaching problem in a lot of instances than it is a player effort problem. And, you know, like, Utah, like, their perimeter defense is fucking terrible. So is their pick and roll defense. You know, it's just, watching all these games, this playoff series, Atlanta is one of those teams that really needs to get their shit together. They need to determine what the fuck they're going to do. They need to determine how they're going to play defense and get points around the basket, because they suck at that as well. Atlanta is not good at getting points in the paint. They're just not. Against like, if Atlanta had to play the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round, they were getting swept. Okay? Like, even though they pretty much basically got swept by Miami. Like, there's so many things Atlanta needs to work on. They need to consider a new head coach, okay? Like, they need to get some decent bench players. They need to get a playmaking point guard, somebody other than Trae Young who can run the fucking offense. Ricky Rubio, right now at the time of making this video, is the first guy that comes to mind. There's just so much shit Atlanta needs to work on, and if they're going to be competitive in the Eastern Conference, they need to get better at all of these things. And Boston's not a team that is getting any worse, and they're pretty fucking young. Okay, like, that's one thing that I brought up about the Nets as well. It's like, the Nets and the Hawks both play in a conference where Toronto is like, one or two pieces away from being really good. Toronto has different needs than the Atlanta Hawks, and they really need a big man, but so does Atlanta. But it's just the idea, like, you got so many teams in the Eastern Conference: Boston, Milwaukee, Toronto. Who else? There's like, I feel like there's another team I'm just forgetting, but like, none of these teams are getting any worse. Okay, that's my point. If you're the Nets or Atlanta, you're looking at Boston and going, wow, they're really fucking good. You're looking at Toronto, wow, Scotty Barnes just won Rookie of the Year and is going to progressively get better and probably be the best player in his draft class, outside of like Evan Mobley. You know what I'm saying? Scotty Barnes is going to be really fucking good. And I look at this and, Milwaukee, Giannis is still in his prime. It's like, these are three teams that you have to play against every fucking year if you're going to go to the playoffs. So, I just think to myself, it's like, stop wasting your time and fix these issues as much as you can. I understand this shit can't really be tackled in one offseason. Maybe it can, but Atlanta's got some work to do, boys. Atlanta has some serious fucking work to do, and so do a lot of other teams, but it's just, they were atrocious, and Trae Young needs to be better. That's all I'm saying. So, tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on this. A like helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more. I'm the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.